Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about some things that I learned from programmers around me. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, do you have any tips or tricks from your past that you could share that you learned from programmers that you have worked with? So I have answered this question a few times, but what's beautiful about it is that I usually don't only have time to cover one or two topics, and I have so many amazing people that I've worked with in the past that have taught me so much that I can continue making these videos without, well, I hope at least, repeating myself all that much. So the lesson that I learned that I'm going to touch on today is, drum roll, how unpredictable software can be. Now, what I mean by that is pretty much that one of the biggest lessons that I learned from an old coworker of mine was that he explained to me that my problem with keeping software from falling to shit and my problem with avoiding legacy is I am not in complete control of how these things turn out. Now, what he was saying was that because you have external parties that can change their mind, literally change their mind the same day, it is all but impossible for you to create a long-term vision or something or some type of specialized solution without the risk of that becoming legacy, and even without you controlling it. An example would be that if you were to build a system, let's say that you wanted to create let's take something that is very country specific. Let's say that you were creating a salary system, a salary management system that did tax calculations and all of this good stuff, right? And you for some magical reason, you have the time and the resources to make this a really nice implementation. It's working flawlessly, you have testing and like all that good stuff, right? And it's absolute perfection. And then just, the company is doing well, and all of a sudden your boss comes in and says, hey, you know what? We need this system to now also go over to a new country where the tax system is completely different. Okay. And then you kind of realize that, all right, they have different laws. They have tons of laws. They have many different things. So all of your interfaces and your UI and stuff like that needs to change because we don't have time to build a completely fresh product from scratch. So we're going to have to shoehorn in all the features that they want into this already beautiful piece of art that you have created. And now it's getting ugly. And it's getting ugly because you need to have certain legal requirements. Like if you click this box here, it used to just show you a beautiful dialogue, but now it has to show you another dialogue to ask for permission, where you need to go out on the internet and check something out about, because you can't get this information about the person. Then you have to manually go and fill that in, and that's not a great user experience and things of this nature. And this is the lesson that he was explaining to me. It was actually very similar to a product that was in a very similar fashion made in this way, where you had multiple countries staying on the same platform. And he explained pretty much that the reason why the rewrite will never work on the system, because at that company they had already tried more than I think 3 times to rewrite the system into something nicer. The reason why it never worked was because if you were to have all the features that were required as part of this system, you're going to end up with that system. It's a nice quote from Top Gear, where they stated that the reason why they never tried to build a fire engine is because if you were to try to make a car with all the things that is needed by firemen, you're gonna end up with the fire engine, pretty much. And this is the phenomenon that he was talking about. You, as the software developer, you only have an ability to deal with the situation that you have. As I like to say, the problem is what the problem is. There's no way for you to make that go away. So unless the problem becomes simpler, you can only do as well as you can given the circumstances that you have. So trying to create perfect, flawless software is partly down to how good you are, but it's also down to how complicated the features that you are working on are. Because you don't control that. You don't control what the specification is, and that's why I believe that it's extremely important for a good software developer to learn how to work within different environments, and not just with the latest and coolest tools, not just with the best practices and stuff of this nature, to even learn how to migrate really ugly, shitty legacy code into something that is kind of sustainable, how to deal with like work process problems where you have stakeholders that don't really understand why, like, they are asking for new and better things, and at the same time the system is kind of falling to shit, and how to actually become a bit of a diplomat in these situations and create a sustainable work process. Because the fundamental lesson here is that the quality of your software doesn't just have to do with how good of a programmer you are. It also has to do with the surrounding stakeholders. In other words, if you want to keep your code nice, sometimes the way to solve that problem is by writing really good software, and sometimes it is to be able to actually talk to people, to get other people to understand how to achieve the goals that they have. So what I want you to take away from this is that as a software developer, one of the biggest lessons that I learned was that my code and the quality of that code is not only down to how good I am at writing software, because the problem that I'm facing is dependent on quite a lot of stakeholders. So if I have a work process, for example, that is systematically creating these problems, or I have feature requests where I can't actually make this into a mentally satisfying code base, then I have to figure out a way to deal with this. So by mastering not only how to write software in different contexts, both software that may change every single day, and being the sort of person who can actually understand and account for that. Because if you're in that environment, you cannot try to write software that is flawless and perfect, because it's changing all the time. It would be a really big waste for you to try to solidify something that is so liquid all the time. And another aspect is to learn how to talk to different stakeholders in such a way that they realize the impact of the decisions that they are making, and maybe help them set up new work processes that will lead to a higher quality product. All these things factor in when you are writing software, and they all affect the end product. And sometimes the fact of the matter is that you cannot simplify the problem, because if you're going to have all the features that are part of the specification, you are going to end up with this big, massive super system. So this lesson actually taught me quite a lot about how to think about different types of software, and how to think about the whole picture of software development, as opposed to just focusing on the code that I'm writing myself, because that code is just one part of a big process of different things going on at the same time. Have a great day.